When Tandy engineered the Model 1000 computer, we created new standards in personal computing. Exclusive features like instant-on Deskmate and plain English commands. Our technology team ensures the quality, value, service, and support that sets Tandy apart from all others. The complete Tandy 1000 TL2 hard drive computer system for home or office for only $15.99. Exclusively at Radio Shack, America's technology store. Nobody compares.
You're looking at the Tandy 1000 TL2, which debuted in the 1990 Radio Shack catalog. A few years ago, I did a video about the Tandy 1000 SX, which was a Craigslist find, and this computer was as well. And in fact, I got lucky with this computer in that the seller listed it over Christmas, Christmas of 2020. And when I went to pick up the computer, he told me how lucky I was because he had had many people, including from all the way over in the Bay Area, messaging him about it, but I was the only one who was willing to come pick it up on December 26th. Now, as you see it here, it has the Tandy CM11 monitor, which is the same monitor that you saw in the last Tandy 1000 video. That did not come with the computer. What came with the computer was the cheaper and slightly lower quality Tandy CM5, which is also just a CGA monitor, but has a larger dot pitch, so you don't get quite as sharp a picture, and it also lacks the anti-glare coating that this monitor has. But that's okay. I wasn't buying the computer for the monitor. I wanted to get this computer because although I love my Tandy 1000 SX, I wanted one of these later models. Firstly, just for the aesthetics. Like when I think of a Tandy 1000, this is more of the look that I think of. But the later model Tandy 1000s, the SL series, TL series, and RL series, do have a couple of capabilities that the older systems do not have. And it also came with the original keyboard and the original mouse, which, believe it or not, would have been an add-on option back then. The computer did not come with the mouse, although that was fairly standard. And then maybe it's kind of silly, but it even came with this dust cover for the keyboard, which would have been a $10 upcharge when somebody bought this computer initially. Here's a closer look at the keyboard. Now, as you'll recall, the older Tandy 1000s came with this proprietary keyboard, which can be problematic for classic computer collectors because these can be hard to track down. Whereas, while it's nice to have a Tandy branded keyboard like this to go with the computer, it's just a standard PC compatible keyboard. So if you did find this computer with no keyboard, you wouldn't have such a hard time finding a keyboard to go with it. It's actually a very nice keyboard. It is mechanical. You can hear it has very quiet clicks as the switches engage. And that's because while it is mechanical, it doesn't have the buckling springs that you find in an IBM Model M. But it does feel very nice, in my opinion, to type on. It feels like a high quality keyboard. Right now I've got the feet on the bottom flipped out, so that makes the keyboard tilt towards us a little bit, which is how I prefer to type. And then if I carefully pan the camera to the right a bit, you can see the mouse, which also came, as I said, with the computer. And I'd been looking for one of these. This is the original Tandy serial mouse, which again did not come with the computer. This would have been an additional $50 when the computer was purchased. It's a little bit yellowed. I meant to, retro bright it or whatever and just didn't get around to it. Honestly, in low light conditions like down here in the basement, it's not bad enough that you can even really tell the difference. I would say that unlike the keyboard, which, like I say, feels like a high quality product, I can't really say the same about the mouse. Like, it doesn't feel completely cheap, but it doesn't have that solid of a feel to it. And I don't think that the buttons feel very nice compared to other mice. But it gets the job done, and like I said, it's the appropriate mouse to go with the computer. Here's a quick look at the 1991 Radio Shack catalog, and the TL2 is on the very last page. Now, by this time, the computer had already been out for a year. This was its second year appearing in the catalog. So you may see down here, it says new low price, $995. So it was a $300 discount. But you can see the various add-ons in here. If you wanted to add, you had to add a monitor of some kind. The CM11 monitor was $399, so $400. And then like this computer, even though it's not working at the moment, it came with a 40 megabyte hard drive, which in this catalog was $499. But, well, I don't have a physical catalog. Here is from RadioShackCatalogs.com. Here is the TL2's page out of the 1990 catalog. And then a 40 megabyte hard drive was $600. So jacking up the price as a whole significantly. And then they don't have it. Oh, they do have it over here. The Tandy 2-button mouse serial version was $49.99. Other upgrades for the computer would include the RAM expansion, which I don't know if we could quickly find that in here. Is it down here? No, it might not be in this catalog. But I believe the RAM expansion was $39.99, I want to say. Oh, here we go. It's right here. Yep, $39.99, 128K memory kit. But again, it says new low price, so I don't know how much it was in the 1990 catalog. Upgrades the Tandy 1000 TX, TL, and TL2 from 640K to 768K. So wouldn't that be nice? Here they actually are offering a CD-ROM drive, so that's pretty cool, although it was $900. And then over here, like as you may have seen on my computer, I have a 5¼ inch disk drive added. And if you wanted to have that done at the store, a 5¼ inch 360K disk drive kit was $170. So I don't know what that makes my computer add up to, but if you had bought that computer in 1990, easily it would have been well over $2,000. I've got the TL2 sitting on top of my Tandy 1000 SX for comparison purposes. I already made a video about this computer. I think of the full-sized Tandy 1000 desktops in terms of two generations. The original Tandy 1000, I've read that you could buy them in store in late 1984, but it first appeared in the Radio Shack catalog in 1985, and it looked exactly like this computer here, with the exception of the color of the disk drive. Tandy used this exact same case for about 4 years for the Tandy, original Tandy 1000, the 1000A, 1000 HD, 1000AX, SX, and TX. And the SX and the TX were the final two revisions of this original generation. The difference is with this SX, this system is based on an 8088 processor running at about 7 megahertz, and the TX is based around a 286 processor running at 8 megahertz, and the TX came with a 720K 3.5 inch floppy drive instead of a 5¼ inch floppy drive. But for the 1989 Tandy 1000 season, if you will, Tandy decided to refresh the lineup, replacing the SX with the SL and the TX with the TL, which looks exactly like this computer with the exception of the /2 on the badge there. And so I wanted to talk about some of the differences, cosmetic and functional differences with the outside of the computer on the front, and then we'll turn them around and look on the back. You can see here, as I talked about last time, you've got sort of this cluster of user interface features on the front of the SX, and that is a reset button, the keyboard port, and 2 joystick ports. And I mentioned in that video that I thought it was pretty cool that the keyboard port is on the front, because to me it just makes more sense when you have like sort of this big, somewhat bulky coiled keyboard cable. It's just better having it plug into the front, in my opinion, than having to reach all the way around the back. For the SL and the TL, they changed up what most of these features are on the front. You do still have your reset button, which I suppose is nice, but then you have an audio input jack, which is labeled mic, but there's actually a jumper on the audio daughter board inside the case, so that you can change that from being a microphone input to a line level input. And then you've also got an audio output jack, and it's labeled as ear, but you can just plug in a set of external speakers and just turn the volume up all the way, and that gets it at least in the neighborhood of line level. And but since it is labeled as an earphone jack, it probably makes sense that right next to that is a volume knob that you can use to adjust the volume. Not really handy, like I said. If you're just going to use external speakers, you might as well just leave that on full blast. But certainly, if you're using headphones, that comes in handy. But this also adjusts the volume of the internal speaker. So even if you're not plugging anything into this, those of you who have used old computers like this know that the internal speaker of old, PC and PC clones tended to be pretty loud, and having the option to easily adjust that volume is pretty nice. Because like on the older Tandy 1000s, it was actually a potentiometer on the motherboard. So you had to open the case and adjust that if you wanted to lower the volume a bit. This, of course, comes at the cost of having a line level audio output on the back, which is what this has. The SX, along with its sort of generational brethren, has both composite video and monaural audio output on the back. So you could just plug this computer into any quote-unquote computer monitor back in the day. And I say that because in the 80s, a lot of computer monitors were really just composite video monitors, because a lot of computers in the 80s just output composite video. So with the older Tandy 1000s, yes, you could have a proper CGA, TTL monitor, but you could also just use something like a Commodore 1702, and then you could also plug the audio output from back there into the monitor. But again, here you have this audio output on the front. And for both of these jacks, the Tandy 1000 does not do stereo audio, it's just mono audio, but both of these jacks are stereo jacks, by which I just mean if you plug a line level audio input, stereo audio input into this jack and use that to record sound, it will record both channels. It'll just merge them into a single monaural audio file. And the same thing is true with this audio output. It's physically a stereo jack, so it will output monaural sound to both channels. So if you plugged in a set of headphones, you'd get sound out of both sides of the headphones. Or if you plug in speakers, you'll get sound out of both speakers. And over here, again, are the drives. And I wanted to mention those just because that is an area in which the Tandy 1000 SL differs from the TL. Because this is all the same on the SL and the TL. But the Tandy 1000 TL, you can see, continues the tradition, if you will, of coming standard with a 3.5-inch drive. You can see that the face of the drive is actually a molded part of this face plate, if you will, of the case, whereas the SL had a 5.25-inch drive up here. I don't have an SL, so I can't say this for a fact, but from the pictures, it seems like the same thing is true, that the face plate of the drive is actually an integrated part of the face plate of the computer case and not part of the drive itself. So if you have an SL, you have two 5.25-inch drive bays. It just comes with a second drive bay that's empty, and then you can add a 5.25-inch drive. Whereas with the TL series, you've got the one 3.5-inch drive bay that obviously comes with a drive, and then this is actually another knockout plate that you can either put another 3.5-inch drive if you like, or more commonly, and as is the case with this computer, there's a hard drive in that drive bay. And then if you also wanted to have a 5.25-inch drive, that was going to be something that you had to add on. They moved the power switch to the front. So this is just a power button, but this button is actually about 1 foot long and just connects to like a switch on the power supply in the back. Whereas with the SX, you have to reach around the side and turn the power on with a rocker switch. So now I'm going to flip them around so we can take a look at the back. Here's the back of the computers, which they look, I would say, a lot more similar than the fronts do. Up on the TL here, you can see here's the keyboard port and the 2 joystick ports, which, as I said, were moved around back when compared to the first generation Tandy 1000s. The TL has a built-in serial port, as do all of the computers of this generation. So that was an upgrade, because as you'll recall, this computer does not have a built-in serial port because I had to buy a serial card and add that. Instead, it's got this crazy light pen port, which really never got used. Both computers have a printer card edge connector that was meant to work with Tandy's older style printers. So it doesn't have a proper, 25 pin, I want to say, parallel port. Although with the TL line, and I believe the SLs as well, you could easily disable the built-in serial and parallel ports and then add a card in here if you wanted to. So if you wanted a normal parallel port, you could add it pretty easily. And then of course here you've got the monitor output, whereas down here you've got the monitor output and then also the video and composite video and monaural audio outputs. The only other thing back here I'll point out, just because like someone's going to notice it and say something, even though I'm going to talk about it later, is here I've added a game card. And that's because unlike the first generation of Tandy 1000s, this second generation allows you to easily disable the joystick ports in software. So if you want to use a standard PC joystick, you can just buy a game port card like this one, which I found on eBay for $2.99, believe it or not. And then you can just disable these joystick ports in software and enable those joystick ports. And the only other card that is in this computer, although we're going to take it out and replace it, is there's an XTCF card in here. And I guess just sort of as a little update, since I made the video about this computer, I changed the XTCF card in this computer. So now it has a compact flash slot that is accessible from the back of the computer so that I don't have to take this computer apart anymore to get at the compact flash card.
No better value.
Right. The new Tandy 1000 TX is made in the USA and has incredible speed at an unbelievably low price.
Speed?
6 times the speed of the PCXT, so you're more productive at home or work. It's ready to run on a built-in 3.5-inch disk drive, and we give you 7 PC programs, including word processing, filing, and spreadsheet.
That is better value.
Tandy Computers, because there is no better value. Only at Radio Shack.
My original vision for this video did not include showing the inside of the computer as I did last time, just because I don't necessarily find this stuff quite as interesting. I really want to get to just talking about software. But there were a couple of upgrades or modifications that I was going to make anyway, and so I figured I might as well turn the camera on. But I also wanted to show you, as I mentioned, this computer did originally come with a hard drive. When I got the computer about 18 months ago, the hard drive worked, but when I took this computer out a couple weeks ago and set it up, the hard drive just wasn't doing anything. But I didn't really do anything to try to diagnose the problem because I don't really need the hard drive anymore. So I just unplugged both the IDE cable and the power cable. This is a Western Digital hard drive. These are XT IDE drives, by the way, that these computers all take. So they're not compatible with more modern parallel ATA IDE drives. So you have to find an old XT IDE drive. But the Seagate drives are considered more reliable than these Western Digitals. But like I said, I haven't done anything to try to troubleshoot this, because it's not that big of a deal. I just left it in here because I figure this is sort of the safest place for it to be. But just to point out a couple things real fast, you can see over here, I mentioned that that audio jumper was on a daughter board, and so you can see that extending out over here. And then one of the reasons that I have the case taken off, so you can see I took the case off, but I also had to take the rear faceplate off. And that's because I'm going to remove the power supply fan, and I'm going to replace it with a Noctua. There's not room in the frame to show it in focus really, but a Noctua NF-A8. This is just a standard 80 millimeter fan, 12 volt fan. So you can replace it with something more modern, and it will be quieter. Some of you who watched the Tandy 1000 SX video may recall that the fan in that computer is ridiculously loud, and I already replaced that one with a modern fan, and it sounds much, much better. But I've also got over here, you can kind of see it there, you can see there's the compact flash card. So this is the compact flash card that was in the SX, but I'm replacing that with, this is from this guy, Texelec on eBay, comes recommended on the vintage computer forums. This is just a XT IDE card. So theoretically you could use this and plug in a parallel ATA or modern IDE drive. You know, I could take this out and put in, you know, like a 20-year-old drive instead of a 30-year-old drive. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that in conjunction with just a normal IDE to compact flash adapter. And that's going to work out really well, because you might be saying like, hey, that's going to take up 2 slots, ISA slots. But as luck would have it, one of the main differences between the TL and the TL2 is that the TL2 has 1 fewer ISA slot, because this has an integrated hard drive controller. So what that means is that even though there's a cutout here on the case, there's not an ISA slot behind here. So I can put this there and it's not taking up an ISA slot. So those are the 2 things that we're going to do real quick before we button the computer back up. So I didn't want to try to talk while I was doing this work, so now this is just voiceover. Here you can see that I'm taking the fan out. You don't have to take the power supply out to get the fan out, as you can see. You just got to work it out of that hole. And then the new fan uses a different connector than the old fan, so that's not going to work. But both connectors actually have the same pins inside. So you can work the pins out of your old connector and then stick the old connector on the new fan cable. So that's what I did. And then now here you see I'm sticking the Noctua fan in. Is it Noctua? I don't know. I'm sticking the fan in there, and now here I'm going to plug it in and test it. And then in a second, I'm going to take my lapel mic off of my shirt, and just to be stupid, and try to show you guys how much quieter it is. But it's really not a good demonstration because I'm shoving the microphone like right into the wind. So just trust me that it's quieter. It's really not that much quieter. This is a 2200 RPM fan, so I could have gotten like a 1200 RPM fan, and that would have been way quieter. All right, now here we are taking out the old XT-CF card and sticking in the new card. So, you know, I had to move that little, blocking plate or whatever over. And you see it has a little sticker that says PC rear and an arrow. And that's because these cards don't have brackets on them. So you can physically put it in the wrong way, but don't do that. Don't feel weird about the fact that it doesn't have a bracket. You know, like Apple II cards didn't have brackets. I'm sure there's plenty of other computers whose cards didn't have brackets. It's really not a big deal. So then you see I took that card back out because now I'm trying to figure out how to get the IDE cable in there. It's much longer than it needs to be, but eventually I get it figured out here. And then now I'm pulling out one of the power cables, because you have to adapt the Molex to the style of power cable that a 3.5-inch drive uses. And then I threw this shot in there just to show you that I did indeed put some cable ties on there, zip ties rather, to clean it up a little bit. And then now over here, what a great shot. Everything is just perfectly centered in the frame. But I'm just doing a little bit of cable management and making everything look a little bit nicer. In a second, I'll be putting the cover back on. Make sure if you remove or put the cover back on to an RL or a TL that you pull the cover straight towards you or push it straight away from you. If you try to pull the cover up, as you actually are supposed to do with a lot of other computers, you can snap off the volume knob on this computer, which is plastic, and then you have to find the right kind of cement to fix it. Ask me how I know that. So you can even maybe see there that I was checking and making sure that I didn't re-snap it, but I ended up, re-gluing it with epoxy, so it worked just fine. All right, so this whole episode is being shot like completely out of order, but I went through and recorded a bunch of gameplay footage, and one thing I was struggling with was the size of the compact flash card that we've been using, which if I reach back here and grab it, is a 64 megabyte card, and 64 megabytes is just really not big enough for a computer like this if you're trying to have a substantial library of games just readily available. Like back in the day, 64 megabytes would have been fine. But, we just want to load this thing up with all the games that we might want to play, and then ideally we don't really have to worry about it anymore, except for maybe adding the occasional game. So I got this 1 gigabyte Lexar compact flash card from my friend Tony, so thanks Tony. And so I'm going to set it up right now, and I figured as long as I'm going to do that, I might as well show you guys how to do it. So the first thing we have to do is take this over to our Windows 10 machine and open up an administrator command prompt, and you run a program called diskpart, which I'm sure is just short for disk partition or disk partitioner, and you use that to clean the drive. And what that does is it'll just remove all partition information and just sort of wipes the drive clean, so that we can come over here and F-disk it and not worry about what might have already been on there. And then we're going to use DOS5 to F-disk, to set the partition on the drive. I don't know why, but the DOS5 F-disk is just the one that works. If you try to use, like this computer came with DOS 3.3, if you use DOS 3.3 F-disk, it just doesn't work quite right. And if you try to use DOS 6.22 F-disk, that doesn't work quite right either. So I made a DOS5 boot disk here that just has the system files on it, along with the F-disk program and the format program. So when we turn on the computer now, we're going to have to hit the A key so that it boots off of the floppy drive instead of trying to boot off of a hard drive, which right now it doesn't really have one. So, and you can see here it even tells you that it detected a Lexar flash drive. So it doesn't know about the clock chip in there, so we just have to hit return a couple of times. All right, so now we are in DOS 5.0. So you can see if I type ver, well, it was already there anyway, but see DOS 5.0. So now we run fdisk, and in a minute, that's going to open. Now DOS 5.0 can make partitions up to like 9 gigabytes, but I think FAT16 can only see 2 gigabytes. So theoretically, we could make one big gigantic 1 gigabyte hard drive, but the reason we don't want to do that is that the first time you do a directory listing, when you've turned on the computer, after it shows you whatever's in the directory, it has to count up all the free space. And so if you have like a 1 gigabyte hard drive, it's going to sit there for a while counting up the free space, and that would just get annoying. So we want to try to make a drive that's big enough without being like too big. So I was thinking 128 megs. So now we're going to create a primary DOS partition, And see, it says current fixed disk drive 1, so it found the compact flash card. And then it asks, do you want to use the maximum available size for primary DOS partition and make the partition active? So if we say yes, it's going to create a 1 gigabyte partition, so we don't want that. So we're going to say no, and then it's going to see, it says here the total disk space available is 982 megabytes. How much do you want to use? So we're just going to type 128 and then hit enter. And that's nice because then later, see, it already created it. Then later, if we fill up this partition and we go, oh, I need more space, you can create a D drive and make another 128 megabyte hard drive if you want to. I doubt we'll have to do that. All right, so now we've made our primary DOS partition. Hit escape to continue. We have to set it as the active partition. So we hit 2 and enter the number. Well, there only is one partition, so we hit 1. So partition 1 has been made active. Press escape to continue. We hit escape. So now we're kind of done. So there's nothing else for us to do here, although if you want, you can hit 4 to display partition information. You can see it's the C drive, partition number 1. I don't know what status A is. Primary DOS partition, 129 megabytes. I don't know why. It must be a rounding thing. System unknown because we haven't installed anything, and we're using 13% of the total size of the available disk. So now we're going to exit to fdisk, and now it's going to restart the computer. So we have to hit A again to boot off of the floppy. All right, so then one more step we have to do that's very important is type fdisk, spell it right first of all, fdisk/mbr to, I don't know, I'm not smart enough to know exactly what that's doing, but it's got something to do with setting or fixing the master boot record on the C drive. And I'll tell you from experience, if you skip this step and just format the C drive and install DOS, it's not going to work. But it doesn't even actually load fdisk. It's just going to do something, and then the command prompt's just going to come right back. So that's it. We're done. So now, again, this is a DOS 5 boot disk, and I have the format program on here. So we just hit format, C:, and then we have to put /s so that we create a bootable drive, because this is going to be our boot drive. So it's going to think about it for a little while. All right, warning, all data will be lost, whatever. And watch how fast it formats it, because it's just a solid state drive. Bang, done. So if that was an actual hard drive, it would have taken a while. But, and then, all right, volume label, I don't know, who cares? We'll just leave it blank. And that's it. And then see, it says here, system transferred. So that's now a bootable drive. So if we want to convince ourselves of that, we can eject the floppy, reset the computer. It's going to take it a minute here. And there you go. So now we have booted off of our new hard drive. And then what we're going to do is we're going to install DOS 5. All right, so now we're booting off of the floppy drive because I've got MS-DOS 5.0 installation disks here. And we're installing DOS 5. I think it's sort of the sweet spot for DOS version for this computer. It only uses about 12K more RAM than DOS 3.3 or 3.31 would. You might recall I have DOS 3.31 on the 1000SX over there. And that was just so that I could have the closest DOS to what would have originally come with the system, but I wanted to be able to use partitions larger than 32 megabytes. So, but one of the main things I like about DOS 5 is that it comes with the edit program, which is the best way to, edit text files in DOS as far as like autoexec.bat, things like that go. So here's the DOS installation, which I'm not going to show the whole thing, but it's, installing to the hard disk. The one thing we have to change, we're going to say these settings are correct. Install to see DOS, that's correct. Run shell on startup, because this has a DOS shell that can run. But we don't want a DOS shell. I just want DOS just the way it is. So we change that, and then we've said those options are correct. And it's going to start installing DOS. And it takes all 3 disks, so this is going to take a few minutes. So like I said, we'll just fast forward the video. Okay, so now it is done installing. Press enter to start DOS. So now it's going to reset the computer again. Booting C, and then you see we have our normal DOS prompt, and now we have a DOS folder. And you saw how long it took to count up the free space, which is not too much time, but you wouldn't want it to take like 10 times longer than that, ideally. So, like I said, it just seems like silliness to make a 1 gig hard drive when we're never going to use all that space. So now I'm going to turn off the computer, take the compact flash card over to my Windows 10 PC, and I already have a folder on there that has like everything already organized. All I have to do is drag it onto this compact flash card, and we can come right back.
With all this paperwork, I can't get anything done.
Introducing the new Tandy 1000 TL3 system, the complete home office solution at a special price of $15.99. With this high-speed computer, you get a color monitor, hard drive, mouse, and easier-to-use versions of popular software. Quicken for finance, Q&A Write for word processing, Lotus spreadsheet, and 10 other Deskmate programs.
It's everything I need.
The new Tandy 1000 TL3 system, just $15.99, only at Radio Shack, America's technology store.
All right, so now we're back at the computer. I've got all the files loaded onto the compact flash card. So now if we do a directory listing, you can see we have 53 megs free because there's 80 something, 85 or so megabytes worth of stuff on our hard drive, which I think is a good ratio. We've got plenty of room to grow there. And now the next thing we need to do, I don't know why we're having a problem with the floppy drive all of a sudden. This floppy drive gets a little finicky sometimes. There we go. We need to install the driver software for the game card. So where is that? Install. All right, so it's copying the files onto the hard drive, and then it's going to edit the autoexec.bat file for us, which is kind of okay, kind of not okay. I'll show you why. All right, so it made a backup of the autoexec.bat file. So now we're done with that. But now, if we go to C, and then I have to find it. I always forget what it's called. DIRT. It's like tljoyfix.com. We have to have the autoexec.bat file run that before it runs the program for the game card, because what that's going to do is disable the onboard joystick ports. So we go to edit, actually, so we can use our mouse. Let's run CT mouse and then edit autoexec.bat. All right, so there's our autoexec.bat file, and it doesn't really matter where we put it. It just has to be before the other stuff. So just go C DOS TL joyfix.com. Wait, did I just put TJ Joyfix? TLjoyfix.com. So yeah, that's all we got to do. So now you go File, Save, File, Exit. And I already took it out. Okay, so now if we restart the computer. Okay, well, we should echo off to get rid of some of this stuff. But so now you can see the first thing that it runs is the TL Joyfix, and you see disable Tandy joystick interface, so that now it can go ahead and run the software for the game card. And so I'll show you what happens. So now it's a good thing this has the reset button on the front, and I'll show you why. So if we do a soft reset with the keyboard, all that tljoyfix.com program does is it flips a bit between a 0 and a 1. And that's all it knows how to do. And so if you do a soft reset, it ends up flipping the bit back the other way. So now it says enabled Tandy joystick interface. So it, you know, it turned the joystick ports back on. And so now when the craft utility tries to run, it says error, no game card was detected at all. So for that reason, if you're doing something with the computer where you need your joystick, you can't reset it using Control-Alt-Delete, or you will lose access to that joystick card. Unlike newer PCs where you like press the delete key to open up the BIOS, you know, if you want to make changes, with the second generation of Tandy 1000s, it has this program that you just run on the hard drive. But I want to run the advanced version. So if we type setup TL2, so like any Tandy 1000 you get would have its own. Like this one is specific for the TL2. There's one that's specific for the original TL. There's one for the SL, etc. So if we do it /A, we get like advanced settings. So like here's the diskette settings. You can, this is kind of interesting. So diskette drive A designation, top and bottom. So if you want your 5 1/4 inch drive to be your A drive instead of your 3 1/2 inch drive, you set that in software, which is pretty nice, I think. If you know, for some reason, if you have a 5 1/4 inch boot disk, so you want to have it boot off of that drive, you can go ahead and do that. So this next screen is system startup. You can set your computer speed to fast or slow. So you can slow the processor down to 4.77 megahertz by changing that over. Primary startup device, ROM or disk. So another thing I didn't mention about these later Tandy 1000s is it actually has DOS 3.3 and Deskmate in ROM on the hard drive. So if you were to get one of these computers with no disks, no hard disk, and you didn't even know if it worked, if you turn it on, it will still boot into DOS and you can still run Deskmate. There just won't be any files, you know, in the Deskmate interface, but you can still run it. But obviously we don't want to do that because we're booting off of a hard drive. Memory diagnostics, video, display, color, or monochrome. I think the next thing I wanted to talk about, yeah. So video memory, this is important because what you set it to depends on what you're doing. So this computer comes standard, or came standard back in the day, with 640K of memory, but some of that gets used by the graphics, by the video. So you don't actually have access to all 640K. So Radio Shack sold a memory upgrade kit, a 128K memory upgrade kit. So you'd have 768K of RAM. And if you did that, then no matter what you have this video memory set to, DOS would always have access to the full 640K of RAM. But we can actually change this value. So if you were like, you're not going to play games, you're never going to use the advanced graphics mode that these later Tandy 1000s have, then just set that to 16K, and then now you at least have 624K of RAM if you don't upgrade it. But the Tandy 1000 SL, TL, and RLs have one additional graphics mode compared to the old Tandy 1000s. The best graphics that you could get out of the older Tandy 1000s depends on your definition of best. You could have 320 by 200 with a 16 color palette, or 640 by 200 with a 4 color palette. But the second generation Tandy 1000 added what they called Tandy Graphics 2, also known as ETGA for Enhanced Tandy Graphics. And that would give you 640 by 200 with 16 colors. But there really wasn't too much that ever took advantage of that. But like if you want to play a game that does, you have to make sure you give it enough memory. And I found that out the hard way. So we set that to 128K. The rest of this stuff down here, I don't mess with that. Here, BIOS machine state, so you can turn on and off the onboard hard disk controller, the onboard parallel port, the onboard serial port, the floppy controller, and even the onboard video. Like, although my understanding is that if you put a VGA card in here, it will automatically disable the onboard video, so I don't know why you would need that. But like if you want to put in your own serial or parallel port cards, you would come in here and just turn them off. And the rest of this stuff, like I said, I'm not sure what that stuff is, so I just don't mess with it. International settings, we don't need to mess with that. Really, the rest of this, we don't need to mess with that. So And I didn't change anything based on where it was before. So we're not going to, if you save the settings, it reflashes the ROM with the new settings. And you also have the option down here, F10 for factory settings, if you're worried that you messed something up. So, so that's how you set all the BIOS options on this computer. And then just one other kind of cool thing, in the utilities here, you can go to, what is this called? It's like Microsoft System Diagnostics or something like that. This is a Microsoft product. Yeah, Microsoft Diagnostics. And it will tell you things about your system. So here we know we have Tandy 286. And then here you can see memory 512K. Because remember, we just gave 128K to the video there. And if you hit memory, it will actually show you a memory map. And I think that's kind of interesting only because when I installed the XTCF card in here, its memory address was set to C800 and it wouldn't work. So there's a jumper on the card where you can change it from C800 to D800. So that's what this is right here. And for some reason now it works fine, but down there it wouldn't work. But based on this, it should have been fine in either location. So I don't really get that. And you know, you can click on these and just have it tell you various things. I mostly open that so that I could show you the memory thing. And then there is a benchmarking thing in here that's kind of neat, where it says landmark one. Let's see, landmark, and I think it's just landmark, isn't it? No, it's not. Speedcom. So this beeps, I don't know why, but you can turn off the beep with F10. And this just gives you sort of some benchmarks here, how fast the CPU is running, how fast the video can go. And I just thought this was kind of neat. It seems like maybe this was a giveaway here, because it says, welcome to Atlanta, Spring Comdex 1990. And so I wonder if like these people had a booth there and were giving away this program on a disc. But I don't know, I just thought that was kind of neat. It's uselessly neat. So here we are in Deskmate again. I say again because we already checked out Deskmate when we looked at the Tandy 1000 SX. But there are a couple things that we can look at now in Deskmate on this computer that we couldn't look at on the SX, and that's because, once again, the Tandy 1000 SLs, TLs, and RLs all have that advanced Tandy DAC chip. So now we have some new options as far as programs go. Up here we have sound, and down here we have music. And the music program actually uses some of the sound files, so it just kind of makes sense to check out the sound program first. So when we load that up, we'll have to load a sound. So first I'm going to load just an instrument sound file just to show that to you, so you remember it for later when we check out a music file. So this is going to load up the piano sound, and it's literally just going to be like a single note being played on a piano. I don't know this for a fact, but I kind of just get the idea that the way the music program works on this computer is kind of similar to like wavetable synthesis, because you actually have to have a sound file of each instrument, and then, like I said, that program will use that sound file and will just vary the pitch of, like in this case, the piano sound to create music, which is how, you know, my understanding of all that stuff is very rudimentary, but that's basically how wavetable synthesis works with MIDI music. So there you go, that's just the sound of a piano there. So yeah, again, I'm just showing that to you just so you just remember that for later, but now we're gonna load up like some stuff that's a little bit more fun.
Captain Picard is located on the main bridge.
That is like way too loud. So there are a bunch of Star Trek sound files on here. These did not like come with Deskmate or anything, but there's a Tandy 1000 resource page on the internet, And it's the only place that I can find to find these sound files. It's not like looking for WAV files where they're everywhere. These sound files were proprietary to the Tandy 1000, so as you can imagine, you know, far less ubiquitous than WAV files. So this next one that's loading up here is like a snippet of the theme song to Car 54. Maybe, you know, if you're someone that's my age, maybe as a kid you watched some Nick at Night. I believe Car 54 was on Nick at Night, at least for a while. I forgot how long this sound file is, but it's pretty long. Yeah, it's over 15 seconds.
There's a holdup in the Bronx, Brooklyn's broken out in fights. There's a traffic jam in Harlem that's backed up to Jackson Heights. There's a scout troop short a child, cruise gets to and I know wild. Car 54, where are you?
So that's kind of cool. I don't know if we can find like one more. We already looked at 3, I suppose, but I think I got some Bugs Bunny action on here. Yeah. So anyway, it's just to show you, I mean, I think that sounds pretty impressive for a computer that doesn't have a digital sound card in it, which, by the way, you can put in here. You can get an 8-bit sound blaster and stick it in here and it'll work just fine. But you know, to me it's just like there's lots of upgrades that you can do to Tandy 1000s, as far as like, you know, you can put a VGA card in here and you know, disable the onboard video. You can, as I said, put a sound blaster in here. You can upgrade the processor, and you know, maybe that kind of stuff made sense back then, but you know, now if you want a computer that, you know, can maybe play newer games that require all those things, it seems like it would just be better to, you know, build a computer or buy a computer that does that. You know, to me, a Tandy 1000 is really for playing games and whatnot from the sort of the period of time before, you know, VGA graphics and sound blasters. So now we're in the music program here. So we're going to load up, and I'm not going to play a bunch of songs just because it's going to take forever. I really just wanted to show you like one. I believe you're limited to 3 instruments, you know, in the music program, and there's different, like if you can use this to write your own. I should mention that you can use this like a MIDI sequencer and you know, write your own music. And as I said, it works in a way that's similar to wavetable synthesis, so you can just use different instruments here. This a la Turk is pretty cool. I originally, when I saw that file name, I thought it was Blue Rondo a la Turk from Dave Brubeck, but it's not. You can see that. Well, let me get it started playing, but it's a la Turca, which I'm not familiar with, by Mozart. So still cool, I'm sure, but would have been cooler in my mind if it was Dave Brubeck. All right, well, that was enough of that. So that's enough of the music, but you know, I've got tons of these song files on here. They're pretty cool to mess with. I remember when I first got a sound card in my DOS machine, you know, when I was a teenager, you know, I spent a ton of time listening to like MIDI music and mod files, so I just think that stuff's pretty cool. So over here's Hangman. You'll recall we already checked out Hangman, so we're not going to check that out again. But I found a Solitaire program to add to Deskmate. So I just thought that was kind of cool, just because, you know, when you think of Solitaire, you mostly really think of Windows. But it's interesting to watch like how long it takes for it to draw in all of the cards. And yeah, it's currently set to draw 3, so I don't super care for that, but you know, I suppose that's the correct way to play, right? So, but I mean, anyway, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me play a game of Solitaire, because how boring is that? But like I said, I just thought it was cool that it was on here. There's also apparently, I installed a poker game but I haven't actually even tried it. So maybe we should check that one out real quick. You know, I don't think this is really a substitute for Hoyle's Book of Games by Sierra, which I also have on here. I can't remember if we looked at that last time. Maybe I'll check. If we did, I'm not going to go through it again, but if I didn't, maybe we can fire it up real fast. But anyway, so here's Poker. Deskmate Poker by Star Software. Deal. And again, you see how long it's taking for it to draw your cards. So now we select our cards to hold. That's really not a very good hand, but we got a jack and a queen of the same suit, so I guess we'll hold on to those. And then I don't know if we hit deal again, is it gonna... Oh yeah, all right. So yeah, we ended up with absolutely nothing. But so you're not really playing against, you know, like anybody. It's just telling you, it's like playing video poker, right? If you go to like a casino, it just tells you what you'll win if you get a good hand. So that's really all I had to show as far as Deskmate goes. So now if we just go File and Exit, it'll take us back out to DOS.
Finally, a computer so easy to use, it really is a home computer. So easy to learn, it guarantees success. All I needed was 15 minutes at Radio Shack with the Tandy 1000 RL, and I could really use this computer. The RL actually taught us how to use its 24 built-in home organizing solutions. Now the whole family enjoys using the RL to communicate and manage our everyday home activities.
Come in today and spend 15 minutes that can change your life. Only at Radio Shack, America's technology store, creating new standards.
So now we're back out in DOS. Here's like the root directory. I've just got my DOS folder, some demos. I was kind of surprised looking back at the old video that I made about the SX that we didn't really spend that much time playing video games, which was kind of disappointing. So the first thing I wanted to check out is Tetris. Like, I don't know why I'm doing that first, but I guess it's just something that I think is interesting. So I have 3 different versions of Tetris on this computer. We have Tetris.exe, and that's the one we're going to check out first. This is actually it's the final build or the final iteration of the original Tetris for the IBM PC. So this was actually, this was the version that actually came out of, the Soviet Union and was programmed at whatever that, Computer Academy or whatever, where Alexei Pajitnov and Vadim Gerasimov worked. And I only say that because I think this is sort of the less known version of Tetris. People are far more familiar with the Spectrum Holobyte version, which we're going to check out next. And so here's all of our options. We're going to do play. You can have it show you the next Tetronimo or not show you. We'll have it show you. Phantom, I don't actually know what that is, so we can try that if you guys want. And then we'll start off at level 0 and a height of 0 and go ahead and start. This game has a sort of unique control scheme. You use the number pad. Well, it'll show you on the screen once I do. It tells you over here. So you use the 7 and 9 to move your pieces back and forth, and then the 8 to rotate, and then 4 to drop it. So, since we're used to playing Tetris, not using this control scheme, it definitely takes some getting used to. And I'm kind of sitting askew from the monitor so that I don't get in the way of the camera. And so that makes this even a little bit harder. See, I already screwed up there just because, this control scheme just takes some getting used to. Also, I'm just not very good at Tetris. So, as longtime viewers of the show, are always happy to point out to me. But you can see it's Tetris. It's not. There's nothing about it really that's different except that it's very rudimentary. The game runs in text mode. I guess that's important to point out, which is why it's so colorful. The Tandy could handle this many colors in a graphics mode, but like other computers, like the regular IBM PC would not be able to. There we go. Finally got some lines cleared there. So it's funny. You play Tetris and it just becomes like second nature as far as the control goes. And with this game, like, it's just not second nature at all, because I just need to kind of get used to it. So, but you know, if you played this enough, you would, you know, you'd probably get used to it pretty quick. But and I don't know how well you can hear it, but it does have sound effects. But the only sound effect is when you clear a line. Sorry, not getting good pieces here. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. It's enough of me embarrassing myself with this. So you just hit escape and it exits the game. So like I said, that's the original version of Tetris. That, like I said, is the final build of the game, though, which is the one you want to get. I think it's 3.12. And the reason for that is that earlier versions of that original Tetris don't run at the right speed unless you're playing on a 4.77 megahertz computer, whereas they put the proper like timing delays into that last version so that you can run that on like any computer and it'll run at the proper speed. That was a common thing, you know, with like really early PC games, because, you know, a 4.77 megahertz processor, sorry, I didn't mean to leave that directory, was just sort of like industry standard basically for a few years. And so games were just written for a processor running at that clock speed. And so, you know, if you go back and try to play some of these really old XT games on a computer that's running faster than that, they just won't, they'll run too fast and it'll be weird. So this is the Spectrum Holobyte version of Tetris. So this was not programmed by like any of the original people. It's just the same game. You know, they just basically licensed the game. And you can see you have multiple executable files here. Like you have C Tetris, E Tetris, and T Tetris. And that's just for CGA, EGA, and Tandy graphics. R Tetris is some kind of, it calls it like Resident Tetris. I don't actually know what that is, but I'm kind of curious. Let's load it up and just see what it is. Do you want to use a joystick? Well, shoot, might as well. Resident Tetris. Press Control Shift T to play. All right. Control Shift T. Oh, I see. So it's just literally in memory. So like I can leave, and then you could go like let's see here. We could go like CD star whatever. I can go edit auto exec.bat just for something to do. And there's my auto exec.bat file. I can just say, okay, I did that. Now I'm done doing that. And I can go file, exit. And then if I hit Control Shift T, boom, I'm back in Tetris. So I'm guessing that is sort of like, you know, not a lot, but some of these old video games had like boss keys, where like if you were at work in your office, you could play a video game, and then like if your boss was coming, you could like hit a button to like get out of there. And so it seems like that's what this is, because then all I have to do is hit escape and like I'm out of there. So then if I hit like CLS, then that little Tetris thing is gone, and now I can go back into Tetris, and then I can leave Tetris. So that's pretty cool, but that's not the version of Tetris that we want to play, because as you can see, that's just like CGA graphics, which, you know, nobody wants to see that. So we'll go ahead. I don't know how else to get it out of memory except to just reset the computer. You can see that the joystick loaded as it's supposed to. So you go to CD Games, CD Tetris, CD, what did I say it was? SH Tetris. That's why I named it, just for Spectrum Holobyte Tetris. And then what do I have to do? T Tetris, I think? Yeah, T Tetris. Do you want a yes, joystick, please. So now it's going to take a minute for it to load. So now we're playing like the full version of Tetris. And now here it's just going to give you sort of like the story of Tetris, which I guess that's pretty cool. But I don't think we need to sit here really and watch that. So, but as you can see, like the programmers and whatnot are all different people, because Pajitnov and Gerasimov had nothing directly to do with this game, aside from Pajitnov obviously designing it. So, oh yeah, by the way, we're using the Gravis PC gamepad, and you know, now it works like a normal game of Tetris pretty much. The one thing is, you know, the same way with the original Tetris is if you hit down to drop the piece, it literally just drops the piece. So even though this piece is going all hecka slow, if you're trying to wait to angle something in somewhere, you have no choice but to wait and let it drop. So, but then we're going to play another version of Tetris, the third and final version for this episode, and that one works differently. Like this one, you can see again, there's not really any sound effects except for when you clear a line, which is just a little beep, nothing special. Sometimes I like it. You know, I'm not trying to play Tetris competitively, obviously, so to me it's always kind of rewarding when you screw up and, you know, do something like what I've done here, because then you have to like dig yourself out of that hole, and if you're able to do that successfully, then, you know, that feels pretty good. I think I'm really setting myself up for total disaster here, so I don't know how much fixing is going to be possible here, but all right, that's better. Now, I mean, it's not perfect, but if we get one of those nice long pieces at some point ever, I forgot, I think there's a way, I mean, oh yeah, okay, hey, there's a boss key, so if you hit escape, see, now we have a fake spreadsheet. So, although I think that's kind of funny, because like, to me, like, this just seems more like jokey, whereas I think the memory resident Tetris, you could actually use that, but who's this gonna fool unless somehow this particular spreadsheet screen like exactly corresponds to what you do for a living. So if we hit it again, now we go back to Tetris. There we go, we got it. That was 4 lines, right? I just got a Tetris. All right, things are starting to look up here a little bit. Oh, so you see we just went up a level. So now we got a new background for whatever that's worth. Anyway, I mean, that's probably enough of this one. So I want to move on to look at the next one anyway. Oh yeah, you see you can hit the F keys and bring that stuff up. So now you have like the instructions over here, statistics, and the level. I don't know why it's like an option of whether or not you want to see the statistics. Like, of course I want to see the statistics. If I feel like I'm getting screwed on pieces, I like to be able to look over here and see that, yes, I am getting screwed, and then I can feel better about it. But you can see, like, we really kind of dug ourselves out of that a little bit. Pretty good. And then I don't remember how to exit the game. Is it this one, this one, this one, this one, this one? I don't know. So I'm just going to reset. It's funny because I actually have a physical copy of that game. So if I had the instruction manual, then we could see how to properly exit the game, but it really doesn't matter. So this last version of Tetris, make sure, yeah, Tet class, CD Tet class, is Tetris Classic. And I forgot what year this came out. It was like in the early 90s though. And this is certainly the most polished of these 3 Tetris games. So yeah, we have to just launch Tetris C. I forgot, is it going to ask me some questions, or is that only the first time? So one thing I don't like about, like, if the computer still had a hard drive in it, you could hear the hard drive chunking and you'd know it was doing something. And or at least if the Tandy 1000s had a hard drive activity light somewhere on the outside, because you can actually wire that in to that XTCF card. But there's nowhere to put a hard drive activity light unless you drill a hole. Like, you could maybe drill a hole like in this knockout plate or something, but I don't really want to drill holes. So here it's just going to ask us what graphics mode we want. We want 3 for Tandy 1000. And then for sound option, we have to go down to 9 for Tandy 3-voice internal sound. Get some cool splash screen action there. And I don't remember if this has any kind of intro or not, but doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, so if I had been smart and run the mouse driver, we could use the mouse right now, but we can't. But so in single player mode, we can go over here and, sorry, I gotta turn that down. Can you even hear me? All right, that's probably better. I don't know how well you can see this, but you know, the mouse is grayed out because I didn't run the mouse driver, but we can choose between keyboard and joystick. And so if we choose joystick, then it will ask, do you want to recalibrate the joystick? And we say, yeah, why not? And center joystick, press a button, top left, bottom right, done. So that's it. So now we can go down. Oh, we can go to more options if you wanted to see what options this has. Music, sound effects, continuous sound effects. I don't understand the point of continuous sound effects. I'm not sure about that. I don't know what Tetris Classic scoring is either. But we, of course, want to show the scores and lines, show the levels, show statistics. I don't know what this other stuff is or why we can't see it, so it doesn't really matter. But now we can go ahead and go to Start Game. And you'll see, I mean, this game just has better graphics, better sound, better control, because like I said, see, you can just incrementally lower your piece, which is nice. We can't get a Tetris because of that square, but that at least helps. All right, see, now we're doing better. That's gonna go there, so we'll put that there, and then that there. That goes there. I just wanted to get to the point where we change levels. Probably everybody's getting tired of Tetris by now. All right, this should get us to the next level. Okay, so you get a jingle when the level changes, and then the background changes, and now the music comes back. I don't really understand. The music in this game kind of just comes and goes. I'm not really sure why. Anyway, I mean that's probably enough Tetris. I just wanted to show you. I just thought it was interesting being able to see all three of those versions of Tetris. And then, like, you know, now you got this nice, you know, menu system that kind of drops down here, so that's pretty cool. Oh, you can play this game 2-player. I don't think I mentioned that. You can do competitive, cooperative, dual pit. So I've never gotten to do that. I should have my wife come down here and play with me just so I can check it out. But yeah. Oh, boss. So that just takes you out to a fake DOS prompt, the boss thing, and you hit escape. And then you go back at some point. I think it takes it a minute to yeah, there you go, it's back. So for whatever good that would do. And then I'll show you a couple of things that take advantage of that enhanced graphics mode that these later systems have. I guess I'll do CD demos. The first one is just easy. It's just a simple graphical demo. I kind of looked through here, and there's no demos that I think are here that I didn't already show you last time. So we go into this thing, Malflu. Is it just Malflu? No, it's not. It's Mal Too High. Yeah. And this isn't really that cool. It's just something that's running at 640 by 200 at 16 color. So maybe that's kind of cool, but far cooler would be showing you a game running at that higher resolution. And for whatever reason, most game publishers, the vast majority, just never took advantage of the enhanced Tandy graphics. So, and the ones that did, it was a lot of like educational software. And probably the only one that would even have been worth looking at among those would have been Mario Teaches Typing. But instead what we're going to check out is Star Trek 25th Anniversary. But I'm not even really going to play it. I just want you to see the graphics. But we have to go in here into the setup and tell it what we've got. So we say we have a Tandy computer, mouse and keyboard. And then for music, so that's one thing that kind of sucks. Like, it takes advantage of the enhanced Tandy graphics, but it doesn't take advantage of the Tandy sound at all. And here you go. It's the view of the bridge here. But like I said, we're not even going to play the game. I figured if I didn't do something to try to show that graphics mode, somebody in the know was going to rightfully say something. So captain's log, whatever. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It has sort of this weird little pattern on it, but it definitely looks pretty cool. But yeah, it's too bad more games didn't take advantage of it. But I think part of the problem is that by this time, the Tandy 1000s were maybe not as popular anymore. I mean, I don't have sales data to look at, but you know, by the early 90s, I think more people were using like other computers and VGA graphics, especially to play games. So it probably wasn't worth game developers' time to bother building in support for this additional Tandy graphics mode. So this next game that we're going to check out is Stunts. It's too dark in here to really see the box that well. Just trust me, we're playing Stunts. And I used to play this game on my DOS machine when I was a kid, but that was like a 386 with you know, a VGA card and a sound card. So I wouldn't have thought that this game would even run. But I looked at the spine on here, you know, and it says, you know, IBM/Tandy. And minimum requirement is an 8 megahertz 286, and that's what we've got here. So, but I mean, honestly, the main reason that I wanted to show this to you is I just think the music sounds impressive, and also because this was made by DSI, who later got bought out by EA and became EA Canada, which I talked about in the NHL 94 video. So that's just kind of cool that it's got the little DSI splash screen there. You'll just have to trust me when I tell you that if we were playing this on a faster computer, that it would be running a little bit better. But we've already got it loaded up, so you might as well check it out. So first of all, yeah, the joystick's not working, so then we have to go into option, driving input device, joystick. Oh yeah, remember this? There we go. Turn the music off. I think you can't have that kind of music and the joystick going at the same time. At least that's the case in some games. I have to keep the box on my lap here because it has like the kind of copy protection where you have to look something up in the manual. This is not a cracked copy. I actually installed this copy on the computer from these discs. But like, you know, here you can pick what car you want, and it's got a bunch of cool cars. But just again, if we were playing this on a newer computer, I mean, I don't know. I think saying on the box that, you know, they recommend at least the 80 megahertz 286 is kind of misleading. I think because I think if you paid $50 for this game, thinking that it was going to run on this computer, I think that you would be disappointed. So we'll go with that. Car, whatever the default track is, we'll just leave it. So here we go. We have to go, please enter the word in the manual located on page 14. Hold on, let me get to page 14 here. Yep, page 14, line 6, word 1. not counting headlines. Peace is the area upon which... Where is it? Oh, selected is the word we need. So we have to type the word selected. And you can see that, well, you don't see that it took it. So it's kind of funny the way the copy protection on this game works. If you type in the wrong word, it still like loads the level. But as soon as you try to drive off, like you crash, like your windshield like cracks into a million pieces, and it's just like game over or whatever. So but so you can see the game doesn't really run that good. It probably runs around the same level as, like, say, like maybe Hard Driving on the Genesis, and as anybody knows, that's no compliment. But the main thing, oh boy, the main thing that was always cool about Stunts, and I'll probably talk about this more on a different episode of the show, but because I think this runs off of like the same engine. Let me just get back on the road here. The same engine as like the first couple of Test Drive games. In fact, I have Test Drive 2 right there. Oh, there's no way we're going to survive this. Oh, I think I got it. Oh, I almost had it. Oh, I did get it. All right, shoot. Didn't really stick the landing, but that's okay. It runs off the same engine as the first couple Test Drive games, but this game has a track editor, and so it lets you make your own tracks. And like when I was a teenager, I just thought that, you know, that was about the coolest thing going. And so I spent tons of time just making my own tracks in this game. I'm trying to just get to the point where I crash just because it'll look cool. Here we go. Oh, really? Wow. All right. Well, anyway, that's enough of this game. Oh, and you can look at replays and stuff too. I mean, it's a really cool game. But, you know, I mostly just showed it to you. I thought the music sounded really cool. Again, for a computer with no sound card. I don't know. What else? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I can't believe we didn't look at these last times. I have Arkanoid and Arkanoid 2 Revenge of Doh. And I remember when I was a kid, I think we can use the mouse with this, so let's make sure we run CT mouse. When I was a kid, I was dumb, like I guess dumber than I am now, and I used to call this game Arachnoid because I didn't know any better. Oh yeah, mouse. But I think I talked about this on an episode of the show, previous episode of the show. You know, this was, I think, the first game I ever saw in color on my own computer. Like after I got my VGA card. Oh yeah, click this. And so I got a soft spot for it. I mean, I also just think the Arkanoid games are good, but I have sort of some extra nostalgia because of that. But I just wanted to show you both of them because you can see, you know, a pretty huge difference in graphics between, well, graphics and music really between the first two games. I mean, they're both fun games. I forgot what B is. I think that might have been to warp to the next level actually, but we'll just try to clean the plate here real fast, and then I'll load. Oh dang it! And then I'll load Revenge of Doh. Not super good. Like the music is pretty good, but you know the sound effects really are not very good at all. I mean, that kind of sounds like farting. There we go. All right, so that's the end of round one there, or whatever. I don't remember how to exit this game. Might just have to. There we go. It was I think it was Alt Q. I already don't remember what I pressed. All right, so now we can go to CD Rev of Doh. And what do I got to type? I forgot. Oh, just Doh. Well, that's nice. Doh. All right, redefine. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of neat. So the default control scheme for this is using the left and right shift keys to move. I don't know. Is that your Arkanoid? I don't know. Move whatever back and forth, and then the space bar is fire if you have like the lasers or whatever. So redefine keys, we're going to say no. And then I'll look. I don't know if there's an option to use the mouse instead. Oh, here we go. All right. We don't need to know the plot, I don't think. But, so I mean, you can see how much nicer the graphics are, but notice now the farting noises are gone. This game's quieter, though. Hopefully you can hear it. But, I mean, I think I have the, I was trying to pause it. Oh, okay, I can turn it up a little bit. This first level takes like longer, so I'm not probably going to make people sit through it. I just thought it was cool to see just sort of the evolution, you know, as far as like how much better this game looks, because it's still just as fun. And I mean, probably you can change the controls. I just don't know. I don't know how. Although maybe if we exit out to DOS, maybe it has like a configuration program or something. Although, I mean, I like this control scheme, but I think I would prefer the mouse. Oh, baby. Oh, look at that. There's a massive slowdown, but look at all those balls. Oh, there you go. Let's get out of here. All right. Anyway, I forgot. Was it F9? Oh, what's that? That looks almost... I didn't know about... Okay, you can change the background. Look at that. Is this like... This seems like some kind of like cheat or something. I was just trying to exit the game, but that looks neat. You were here to see it happen. It's still Alt Q, Control Q. Is it reset? I think it's reset is how you exit the game, which is fine. And then, you know, listen, with apologies to those of you who don't like sports games, if you're someone that normally watches my show, you know that I did a whole episode about golf games and the PC Engine. And I talked about Jack Nicklaus's greatest 18 holes or whatever it's called. And I showed some footage of the PC version. And because I talked about how the PC version got such good reviews, but then everybody dumped on the console versions because I guess people have different standards there or something. But I showed some footage of this PC version. And I even got a hole-in-one, which was very exciting. But now we're playing it on actual hardware, which is even more exciting. So we can pick which course we want. But of course, I mean, you go Jack's greatest 18. Like, who are we to second guess Jack Nicklaus, in my opinion? And I'll stick with the beginner skill level. I don't actually know if expert, I'm assuming it just like makes your hook and slice even worse. So, all right, we'll go play around. So you can play around, practice a hole, driving range, practice green, but we're just going to play around. We're not going to play a whole round. Everybody relax. I'll play like 2 or 3 holes. But you might notice this screen is not a good example. The graphics, in my opinion, are a little bit better than the PC Engine, but, you know, the graphics still, they are what they are, you know. I think the screen draws a little bit faster, although I really never had an issue. As I talked about in that video, I don't mind that it takes a minute for the screen to draw. Like, is it really that big of a deal? You're playing a golf game. You just use the space bar to, you know, start and stop the meter. Oh, I think we overshot the fairway there. Yeah, we're in the rough, but that's all right. So you can see we have very strong see how the wind is like totally pink? Like that means the wind meter is totally full, and the wind is directly in our face. So we have 170 yards to the hole, excuse me, and we have a 5-iron which goes 173 yards, so I almost feel like maybe we should go 4-iron just on account of that wind. See what happens there. Looks okay from here, but you can't really tell anything. Only went 168 yards, so it still fell a little bit short, but only by a couple of yards. Yeah, see, look, we're only 4 feet from the hole. So that ended up being a great shot. And so now where the wind meter was, you now have your brake meter. And you can see that there's no brake at all, so we just have to aim the ball. You can see that the hole is sort of askew, you know, it's a little bit that way. So that can be kind of tough to line up properly. See what that does. Oh, there we go. All right, we got a birdie. How exciting is that? There's our scorecard. And then it keeps track of your stats for your round, as far as longest drive, last drive, closest to the pin, etc., etc. You know, if you were like a real golf nerd, you would probably want to know all that stuff. So that little, you know, Jack's little advice or whatever for this hole was that this is the most dangerous tee shot in all of golf. But, you know, whenever I'm playing this hole, I don't really see what's so dangerous. I guess just because you have all this out of bounds over here, and that kind of sucks because there's a strong wind going that way. So I'm going to aim the shot over here, but we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll still end up going out of bounds. Nah, we're all right. In fact, it might have gone too far that way, but I don't think so. It's kind of a shame that this game doesn't have better sound, but I guess it certainly wasn't really made with the Tandy in mind, I would say. Still got that wind, so go a little bit this way. Oh, we can't even reach the green from here. Well, I'm just going to hit the ball as hard as I can, so... So you see we went way up into the red up there, so it'll go farther than the 235. Oh, we ended up in some sand. How nice is that? We went 284 yards with a 3-wood. Yes, we ended up in a bunker, but I'm still impressed. All right, 24 yards to go. What is that, 80? So we're going to go like... Oh, sorry, we still got wind. Maybe a little too far. Not too much up. No, we're still 4 feet from the pin once again. I think this putt is for birdie, is it not? Wait, right there. I think that's pretty good. All right. I hit that a little bit too hard, but that's okay. Yep, got another birdie. So we'll just do one more. All right, so it's 302 yards to the pin. So theoretically, if I totally max that out, I should be able to make it all the way over there. But I feel like even if I don't make it all the way over there, all that's going to happen is I'm going to be in the rough, which really isn't that big of a deal. See what that does. Oh, we didn't correct enough for the wind, but look, 298 yards. We'll see where we end up. We're still 10 yards from the hole. Looks like we're in the rough, but it's still a pretty good shot, I think. So we're doing pitching wedge, which is 100 yards, 10 yards to the hole. So we're just going to try to go to this first horizontal segment here. Account for the wind a little bit. There you go. Not bad. 2 feet. So we should be, hopefully we'll get out of here with a par. There you go. Oh, sorry. Oh, that was a birdie? I thought this was a par 3. Oh, it was a par 4. Sorry, I thought it was a par 3, so there you go. So anyway, that, you know, as much as I'd love to keep playing, I'm not going to put you guys through that. So got to remember how to exit out of this one. This game actually will let you save your game so that you don't have to play all 18 holes in one sitting. So that's kind of nice, but I think we have to get to this screen in order to exit, because I think it's just the escape key. So I have a ton of Sierra games on here. In fact, that's probably what's taking up most of the space. So within the games folder, I have a Sierra subfolder, and you can see most, I would say, of the classic era games here, as far as Space Quest, King's Quest, Police Quest, the first 3 Leisure Suit Larrys, Thexter, that boxing game, which I think we looked at last time, Gold Rush, which nobody ever talks about, which I think is a good game. And then here's that Hoyle game, but I went and checked, and we did already look at that one, so we're not going to look at it again. But what we are going to do is check out Space Quest 3, but is it an exe file? Yeah, so I wanted to show you, if you go through the install routines, there's a reason that we're checking out Space Quest 3. So here you go and tell it what monitor, or what graphics mode rather, and sound mode you're using. We're going to go down, of course, to Tandy 1000 with RGB monitor, 16 colors. But more importantly, here is the music/sound capability. And if you go down to the third option, you see Tandy 1000 series. But if you go all the way down to the bottom, it says Tandy 1000 SL, TL series. And that is because Space Quest 3 will take advantage of that DAC chip that these later Tandy 1000s have. And this is just kind of funny, because another thing you got to remember, this goes back to what I said at the beginning about the keyboard. IBM or compatible keyboard or Tandy 1000 keyboard, and then it says original layout. Because you could imagine if you maybe weren't paying attention or didn't know any better, you'd say, oh, well, I have a Tandy 1000, and you'd pick the second option. But again, this is just a standard IBM compatible keyboard, so we stick with option 1. And so I think we type Sierra, and then it's going to play a long intro, and I'm going to record the whole intro and I'll cut it up. There's a spot in the intro where it uses that Tandy DAC chip, so I want to make sure that we catch that. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. That's just, if you were playing with computers in the late 80s and early 90s, if you saw that logo, you just knew that logo meant quality. So that was the part that used the DAC chip. I'm not saying there's not other parts in the game that do, but that's the only part towards the beginning. So, but I mean, just a cool intro in general. I think it's got cool pixel art, and obviously it's using that 16 color Tandy graphics mode. And then now the game itself is going to start. Pretty cool that you can use the mouse with this game, unlike some of the earlier Sierra games, so it plays more like a LucasArts game, although you don't have to use the mouse. And yeah. And I mean, I don't really find it to be all that helpful. Oh yeah, and you have music. That's pretty cool. So you can click around, just tell Roger where you want to walk, but then you still have to take your hand off the mouse and type in commands. So to me, it's it's just as easy to just use the arrow keys, but just personal preference. The cursor turns from an arrow into a hand when it's loading, which I thought was kind of a weird icon, if you want to call it that, to use. Just because to me the hand seems like, well, are you picking something up or something? Like, you know, you'd think they'd use like an hourglass, but maybe they didn't want to be like ripping off windows or something. Oh, hold on, if you go back here to the screen I just came from, you can see a wrecked TIE fighter right there. That's kind of cool. And then see this rocket says Acme, which I assume is a reference to Looney Tunes cartoons. I'm not going to go through and play too much of this game, just because for starters I don't really know how. I mean, I know how, but I'm saying I don't know what to do really, but I know a little bit. You have to stand over here somewhere. Yep, and then that thing takes you up. I just think this... Actually, I kind of almost want to die on purpose here just to see what happens. You're going to... Well, I won't spoil it. You'll see what happens. So you're going to be moving across on this conveyor belt, and you have to type stand and then jump, or you fall into this grinder. Oh, man. I just wanted to see what the death was going to be like. So, shredded like an Iran-Contra document. Topical. And, yeah, that's it. So that's enough of Space Quest 3. Not that it's not an awesome game, but, you know, we don't really have room in this video to spend too much time playing an adventure game. So next we're going to run a game off of the floppy drive just to get the aesthetic going. So we have to switch to the A drive. And hopefully this works. I'm trying it for the first time on camera. This is a Tandy 1000 port of Commander Keen 4. So, you know, I used to play the Commander Keen games back in the day because you could download the demo versions from BBS's, but those games required a VGA card. So just to give credit where credit is due, this guy online who goes by the name Frenkel is the one who is working on these, you know, updating these ports, or this port regularly. This build is from earlier this year, so I assume that means that he's still working on it. So we will load it and see what happens. Hopefully we can use the PC gamepad with it. But there it is, Commander Keen 4 running in 320 by 200 16 color Tandy graphics. Using joystick number 1, great. Oh, use Gravis gamepad. Maybe we should just do that instead, huh? Make sure the 4-button switch is set for 4 buttons. See, I always forget on here because it's not marked. Hopefully it's the right one. Press button for jump, press button for pogo, press button for fire, press button for... All right, well, we were in the right thing there, so perfect. All right, now we can back out of this. New game, do normal. Obviously, I could have just copied this to the hard drive. I just thought it would be fun to play it off of the floppy drive, because that's how I copied it over here anyway. Just because I didn't want to have to shut the computer off to take the compact flash card out. So I just took a floppy disk and stuck it in my Windows 10 machine because I have a USB floppy drive. The load times would have been significantly shorter, though, had I put it on the hard drive. But, I mean, this actually plays quite well. Oh, I'm out of ammo. Ah. What does that mean? I got 2 shots? Do I want to go outside or go down the... Of course we want to go down. Chocolate bars. Ooh. Well, like I say, this is, ooh, dead. This is still a work in progress, right? So, you know, maybe some graphical glitches are normal. You know, or maybe it's because I don't have enough RAM in the computer. I can't really imagine that being the case. Oh, can I stand on the guy? That's what I gotta do, I think. Yeah, here we go. Oh, but now he's not gonna move. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Like a pro. All right, we're not gonna go out there this time. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's the end of, well, the end for us of that game. So next, can I just exit the whole game? Next, I just wanted to check out, just so we can use both of the disk drives. I forgot I have a disk in here for some reason, but take that out. And disks everywhere. Figure we could install test drive 2, the Duel. Check that one out. I don't know what it is. I love 5 1/4 inch floppy disks. Or we can just run it off of the floppy drive. So let's just do that. Or no, I got to do this one. TD2, and then see there's TDY for Tandy. Ferrari F40. I think that was a Porsche 959 that just flew by. Which would make sense because that's what's on the cover of the box. See, and then there's DSI again. Remember I said that they made Stunts, and so I'm saying I'm pretty sure. Oh, and there's Amory Wong. He was the lead programmer for NHL 94. So it's funny if you saw that billboard that says Play Grand Prix Circuit, because they also made that game. So I don't know, does this run better than Stunts? Maybe like ever so slightly. There's a Mercedes went by. You gotta appreciate the attention to detail. Oh boy. We got the cops on our tail. I guess, does that mean we're outrunning them? It's funny, I remember the day I found this game at a thrift store. It's weird how you remember stuff like that. I think I would always get excited when I found old computer games at thrift stores, and this was before... Oh, you missed the gas station and you're out of gas. I didn't know I had to stop for gas. This is before the days when everybody was looking for games at thrift stores, but even then, like, finding computer games, for me at least, like, you know, floppy disk-based games in boxes was a lot more rare than finding home console games.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas. And now you can save $300 on either of our 2 most powerful Tandy 1000 PC-compatible computers. They're easy to use for your whole family, yet powerful enough for business. Discover the easy-to-use Deskmate difference, where the same simple graphics guide you through word processing, spreadsheets, and more. Take advantage of the savings on 2 great Tandy 1000 computers from $599. Only at Radio Shack, the technology store.
So what happened to the Tandy 1000, and how did it go from being the most popular IBM PC clone in America in the 80s to still making a cool computer like this as the 90s were beginning, to by 1995, when I worked at Radio Shack, not selling any Tandy branded computers at all? Well, in my opinion, it just comes down to price competitiveness. When this computer launched in 1990, in the configuration that this computer is in, it would have cost over $2,500, assuming that you didn't get some kind of holiday sale. And even in 1991, when the price had been dropped slightly, again in this configuration, the computer still would have cost you over $2,100. Well, in the summer of 1990, when this computer was over $2,500, you could have purchased from Gateway a computer that featured a 386 processor, dual floppy drives, one 3.5 and one 5 1/4, but both high density, 2 megabytes of RAM, a 65 megabyte hard drive, so 50% bigger than the hard drive in this computer, and VGA graphics, including a VGA monitor, for under $2,200. So why anybody would instead go to Radio Shack and buy that, I'm really not sure. But that really dovetails with my impression of Radio Shack when I worked there, which is just that we were not price competitive at all, selling high dollar items when somebody could just go to a big box store and, you know, buy any other number of brands of TV or stereo equipment or what have you, instead of coming to our store and buying like an Optimus AV receiver, which I don't really understand what Radio Shack's business model was by then, but it is what it is. It really is a shame though, because if they had managed to be price competitive, it would have been nice to see the Tandy 1000 line and its bigger brothers, the 2000, 3000, etc., carry further into the 90s. And there's no reason why it had to be any other way, except that, as I say, they were just not able to offer these things at a price that was attractive to consumers. That being said, as a classic computer to have in the modern day, and I think I probably said the same thing when I did the video about the Tandy 1000 SX, I really don't believe that there is a better computer out there for playing pre-VGA and pre-digital sound card games, like IBM PC-based games, than the Tandy 1000. Happy SepTandy, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.